Yeah, I know what you're thinking. This is an e-mountain bike channel, so why are you riding an e-road bike?
So I'm going over to see the guys at Berkshire Cycles because Specialized have released a new e-bike. Now it's not an e-mountain bike, it's an e-road bike. It's called the Creo, the Turbo Creo. Never ridden an e-road bike, barely even ridden a road bike, but because it's got a new Specialized motor in, which may be used for, well, in the future in new bikes, who knows, I wanted to come over and give it a go. So let's go and see the guys at Berkshire Turbo.
Keeping at it.
In a while.
Well, I like all e-bikes, to be totally honest with you, and when Specialized launched this one I thought, God, it looks really interesting, and I'm sure that motor is going to be used in the future in other bikes. It just looks pretty damn cool, to be honest with you, and I wanted to give a road bike a go. I've not ridden a road bike in many years, and if there's one thing that's going to get me to ride on the road, it's an e-powered bike. So I'm going to check out this, go for a little spin, just a little first ride and see what it's like.
Let's take it over the limit and it just completely cuts off. So smooth. It's like zero resistance whatsoever. It's really nice and easy to pedal. It's pretty quick and it feels so stiff compared to what I'm used to. Obviously, no suspension other than a tiny little bit in the headset just to take the sting out of some of the bumps. Geometry is similar to, I think they're Diverge road bike. I've got to say it's pretty comfortable and I'm well over the 15 mile an hour limit and the motor's totally silent, totally cut off. Electronic shifting, like at your fingertips, Di2, which is brilliant. Lightning quick to change, super sharp. I like this. I've never been a road rider. I've ridden on road on a road bike a couple of times, but this could be the thing that kind of changes my mind. And as soon as you hit a little gradient, that's it. That's where the power kicks in. And you're just off. It just gives you that little push to help you. 35 Newton meters, not a huge amount of power compared to an e-mountain bike. You can hear it's kicked in now. Still giving you a workout, but just enough to take the sting out of some of the hills. If you like that sting, you can still give it some through the legs and carry on. You're going to get a proper workout. You're literally just going to be going faster up the hills, and then as soon as you're down on the flat, motor cuts out, you're on your own leg power again, and you've just cruised up a hill faster than you did before. Nice. And again round here, motor's just kicked in. I'm over the limit. I really like this. I know a few people that ride road. I'm not as fit as them because they're road riding a lot. If I had one of these, I could keep up. So smooth and fast. It's a few different versions. This is the Creo SL. It's going to be a gravel type bike as well, which I'm super interested in. Never ridden gravel either, but it's kind of more up my street. So definitely going to be giving that one a go. Local fire roads, little forests, same kind of frame and motor, but flared bars, chunkier tyres, more suited for a bit more off-road. I believe that one day every bike will have electronics in them on the majority of the bikes. Just look at the gearing that we're getting now. Suspension that we're seeing on mountain bikes, wireless shifters, wireless dropper posts, it's all moving over. And here the were Specialized SL 1.1. They've started manufacturing this with another partner and moved away from the traditional kind of bros with Shimano or other manufacturers. And what this allows them to do is to create a totally bespoke motor, so they're not bound by the motor manufacturers in terms of the size, the dimensions, the weight or mass, and they can wrap their own frames around it, so they can design it to fit in with their frames. So other motor manufacturers, they release a motor and then every brand has to form their frame around it. Well, they can design this to work together with the frame and the motor when they're considering designing the bike. Oh, that's it, just a little start just gives you a little push off the start. Oh, it's so good. Now, I am not a roadie, so if you're watching this and there's certain things you're thinking, why is he not talking about that? It's because I don't ride road. My channel is Rob Rides Emtb. But what really interests me about this bike is the software, the integration and the motor, because I believe that this motor could be the start of things to come with Specialized e-bikes, remounting bikes. We're already seeing things like the Fazua system, which are in a lot of lower powered e-mountain bikes and eRoad bikes. What they've done on this one is they've thought about obviously the size and the weight, as I've just mentioned, but also the range ability. So for you to be able to add on additional battery packs, you can add on an additional 2 onto the frame to give you some increased range, and just go in the bottle cages. It's so quick to get away. Just the motor spins up and you can just accelerate so quickly. I mean, there's a lot of different types of road riders, but who's this bike aimed for? Is an e-mountain biker like myself going to enjoy it? What's it going to do for me?
Over the last sort of year, we've been having guys come in that, you know, have been members of road clubs for such a long time, and they're now starting to struggle to keep with the peloton of riders. So I could sort of get the idea that, you know, electric was going to go into road, and some of the other manufacturers have been working on it for a while, and we've seen some different stuff. But I've always been, you know, sort of, is 15.9 mile an hour going to be fast enough for an e-bike on the road? And you know, everyone's saying that your 17 to 20 is where it needs to be at. So I spoke to the guys in Switzerland and said about it, and they said, Chris, you know, tomorrow morning you need to be up nice and early because we're going to take you out on the bike. And I'll be honest with you, I really was dreading the thought. You know, the next morning we sat down, they talked us through the bike, and to be honest, you know, when you see the bike you just think, wow, you know, what a pretty looking thing. But again, as I say, not my bag at all. And then we got to go out and do about 30 miles on the eRoad, the gravel bike, which is very similar, but, you know, with different wheels, drop a seat post. And I just couldn't believe it. What we could do on the bike was just amazing. They've been working on this now for apparently over 2 years, and the motor is absolutely tiny. And when you ride it, you know, you get to that 15.9 and it doesn't drop out. You know, you can just pedal through it. So I think our average was about 15, 16 mile an hour, and there was a lot of climbing in that as well. It was just amazing.
It's all carbon, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
all carbon frame,
Yeah.
carbon wheels. It's got the classic stuff that we all recognise, like the TCU.
Yeah. Again, which is really good because it all works with the Specialized's own motor.
Yeah.
When they unveiled the bike, you know, it just looks superb. Also comes with a battery extender.
So the battery is
The battery
in this down tube here.
very similar to the design of the Levo, you know, so the battery comes out the bottom. The only thing is that is different is that to take the battery out, you have to remove the motor.
Okay.
So, say for instance, you're going abroad and you want to do a bit of the tour or so on. You take the battery out, which allows the bike to be, shipped, and then you can board the plane with 2 or 3 range extenders.
So you would leave the main battery at home. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, leave the main battery at home, because that's the problem. Flying with a battery, that's what limits taking an e-bike abroad. So the range extenders fit onto the bottle carriers. They're nice and light, and they plug into here where you charge the bike up from, which is going to allow you to be able to go on the plane, take the batteries in as hand luggage, and still be able to do the ride. So that's what I thought was really amazing, that they thought of everything, because we just sell the bikes and don't
the
really
extenders
appreciate it.
are their own range extenders, you mentioned.
Yeah,
right?
everything is Specialized's own, that's made for them, so it plugs into here, so it's nice and neat, that you haven't got loads of wires and cables hanging around. It literally is plug and play. But also what I found really fascinating was that if, say for instance, you're over here and you're going to go on and do a long ride, you can have your range extender plugged into the charging point. And on the TCU, when the TCU is alight, it's exactly the same as with the Levo, that you have all the blue lights coming along the top here. But when you've got a range extender in, not only have you got the blue lights, but 5 of the bars go green, half of them. So when you're riding out on a long ride, you see the blue bars dropping down, and then all of a sudden it gets to the green bars, and then the batteries drop together. So you don't get any different surging or anything else, it just flows together. So obviously when it gets down to using the range extender and the main battery, it falls a lot lower.
Okay. In terms of the tech that we're seeing in here, like my channel is e-mountain bikes, and I'm a massive fan of e-mountain bikes, but all e-bikes, to be fair. Do you think that we'll see this kind of tech, like this new smaller size motor, in future mountain bikes? Because we've seen bikes like the EZD, the Lapierre, that's got a lightweight, lower powered motor, but that makes her a lighter bike. Do you think some of this tech we might see in mountain bikes?
I would say for sure. On a couple of the movies that you had done regarding all the demos that you've done on different bikes, like with the Lapierre with the smaller motor, it makes sense, for the people that are not necessarily convinced with the e-biking, want something a little bit lighter but just need a little bit more for climbing. Then I think it's going to come, with Specialized too, because why would you not use this motor? This has been designed and made by Spesh, and the thing is just phenomenal. You've got no belts. It's all geared internally, and it is so smooth. When you get to ride it, you just see how well it rides. On the mountain bikes are lovely. But you can just see silly little things where technology is moving. If you see the size of this motor, when Spesh brought this out for their Levo, you thought, wow, it can't get any smaller than this. And
that's the Bros Mag S, right?
Yeah. And you have the belt and everything else. But when you see the little motor in this, how small it is and how well it's made, it's incredible.
And what I find really interesting is they're no longer restricted by these manufacturers. Like, these manufacturers will make these motors for whoever wants to buy them.
Yeah.
And you have to make the frame around that motor. Whereas these new motors that are in the Specialized bike, Specialized can tailor them to their own frame designs, right?
Well,
they're not limited by another manufacturer making it, because it's all done to their specification.
Yeah, I think, again, where, Specialized, people say, oh, Chris, you're biased because, Specialized. But it's not. We do lots of other brands, as you know yourself. But say, for instance, Bosch bring out the new motor, which they have. You go to Bosch and they give you a motor which you then got to build a bike around. And I think that's where Specialized are ahead of the game. because what they do is they build the bike and then the motor has got to fit around the bike. So with this, you know, the Specialized motor that's in here now, literally, if you look at their non-e-bike, the geometry and everything else, you know, that's where they're playing at. They want it to ride just like an ordinary, you know, mounted bike or road bike. And with the, you know, I've been lucky enough to see inside the new motor, no belt, you know, little gears inside there, and it's just so smooth. So pretty much the answer I would say is yes, I think it's, you know, definitely to come. If we could have brought one then and been able to take it home, for sure we would have done. Yeah, it was just amazing thing. And you can't sum up, Rob, how many, you know, times that you could ride the bike. You know, it was one of those that you pulled over and thought, I really want to get on. And there was one point where there was a middle station basically where you could stop and you could get some drinks, and it, you know, just miles up the mountain. It was fantastic. And this lady come out and she asked us if we wanted to sample some milk. You know, she was a milkmaid. And of course we had a bit of a giggle and, you know, and tried some of the milk, which was amazing, fresh. And I said to her, I said, have you ever ridden an e-bike? And she said no. So we got her on the road bike, on the gravel bike, and she took it up and she turned around and said, where can I buy one? And it was that nice, you know, she was so far up in the mountains, hadn't seen an electric bike, but literally she went and, you know, pedalled off up, you know, up the road, and all of a sudden she was a potential customer. Play around with the suspension on the top here as well. Again, it was amazing, you know, on the gravel bike, you know, just turning it off, you know, turning it off really. It really stiffened the bike up for climbing. And then when you slackened it off for coming downhill, there's a lot of exciting things, you know, when you're at the technical centre and they're taking you through, you know, some of the stuff that they're working on. You can just see that in the next sort of 5 to 10 years, it's going to be incredible. And as I say, you know, I haven't been on a road bike for 40 years, but when we get our gravel bikes in, for sure, I'll definitely be having one.